Hey guys, what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rise. We're back here at Clearwater Toyota, and guess what? We have that one long-standing vehicle in their lineup that keeps still making the sales hits. It's this vehicle right here. This is a 2025 Toyota Corolla. Obviously, you can see this is a Corolla hatchback, but it is the sporty top trim known as XSE. But before we get into a compact hatchback with some sporty driving dynamics, let's talk about what's going on here. So believe it or not, when the Corolla hatchback many eons ago first came out, it wasn't called the Corolla hatchback. Toyota called it the Corolla liftback. Obviously, with the current generation of the Corolla, they are using that hatchback name because that is what you find from many other brands. Now, what are some of the main competitors to this vehicle? There's not a whole lot, because guess what? Hatchbacks are going the way of the dinosaur. Obviously, you can go hatchback with a Mazda 3 or that other iconic Japanese brand, the Honda Civic. So those are two of the main choices. If you go Volkswagen, they just have the GTI and the Golf R, so they don't have a standard Golf anymore. But what I want to find out is, for the price, is the Corolla hatchback, especially this XSE trim, the way to go over a Civic hatch or a Mazda 3 hatch? Let's go ahead, let's dive into ours and find out. Right off the bat, it's one of Steven's favorite colors to film. It's called Ice Cap, and it has a nice, bright pop of white underneath the Florida sun. Up front, you'll notice that very traditional, what we have found on this generation of the Corolla headlight housing design. You have LED daytime running lamps, LED headlights, and LED turn signals. Working our way down, I like the way they kind of wrapped around a little bit of metallic silver trim because we have LED fog lamps. And what's nice about this generation is that even though it's getting a little long in the tooth, it still has a sporty style to it. Now, as we come across that front nose area, you'll have your large lower grille. What's interesting is if you compare this to the new Civic, I feel like the Civic borrowed some of this design with the way they enlarged their lower grille, like the way the lower lip spoiler is painted that ice cap white with your edges on the corners there. And then you have a little bit of gloss black in the center here because of the difference between the lower portion of the grille and the top of the nose. But let me know what you think about the face of this vehicle compared to a Honda Civic hatch or a Mazda 3. The one that has the cleanest design is the Mazda 3. But I actually prefer, I think, the style of the Honda Civic hatch. But let me know how you feel in the comment section. Now, as we rise up, very, very smooth, just a little bit of kind of drop on both sides. As we come around the bend, one of my favorite parts about an XSE Corolla are the wheels. Love the V-spoke design, metallic gunmetal gray finish to it. Really think that the wheel fits the design very well. It's an 18-inch wheel. Tires are going to be 225 on the width, 40 series sidewall. Of course, this is front-wheel drive. There is no all-wheel drive Corolla hatchback. If you want a Corolla hatchback that's all-wheel drive, you got to go with the GR Corolla. Now, being an XSE trim, you are going to get sporty tune suspension. And if you're going to compare this to a Honda Civic, it would be the Honda Civic Sport, obviously. And if you're comparing it to a Mazda 3, all the Mazda 3s have a sporty tune suspension. But no flat black, everything ice cap. Coming down the side, ice cap on your mirror caps. It's a little bit of extra cap. No cap, which has its own meaning today. LED turn signals. Surprisingly, no sunroof. That's a zonk to me. But everything is just painted ice cap. Even that side skirt extension, ice cap on your door handles. And then I like the very sporty rear end on the Corolla hatchback. Now, I do have to say I prefer the Sportback style of the Civic a little bit more, but I think I like this design better than the Mazda 3. Now, when we come around the back, you're going to get a stubby roof spoiler, nothing too aggressive, painted in ice cap, and you do have an exposed wiper, which all of them have. That's almost like a a rite of passage for a hatchback is you have to have an exposed wiper. You're gonna get LED taillights, turn signals, all nicely done. And then they do a great job on the XSE badge. The one thing that makes me sad is that when you drop it down to ground level, you have a large amount of gloss black, but it's not that. There's no exposed exhaust. If you get a Corolla sedan, that's a SE or an XSE, it has the staggered exhaust on the passenger side. No exhaust showing, makes me a little sad, so I am gonna zonk that. But why don't we go ahead, let's pop the hood and see what's powering our Corolla hatch. All right guys, we got the hood popped. You do have a prop rod. All the competition, all the competitors have a prop rod. Underneath the hood is that naturally aspirated, bulletproof 2-liter inline-4 naturally aspirated engine. So what are we looking at? We're looking at 169 horsepower, 151 pound-feet of torque. It is mated to one transmission only, a CVT, 0 to 60 in about 9.8 seconds, so nothing that's gonna set the world on fire. Top speed around 110 miles an hour. MPGs, you're looking at, when it comes to city, 29 in the city and 36 on the highway, and the vehicle weighs right around 2,950 pounds. So very interesting how they decided no more manual. You used to be able to get a manual on these, no more, they just weren't selling. And if you look at the Civic, Civic also has a CVT, puts out about 157 horsepower out of its 2-liter naturally aspirated engine. The one that really has the most would be the Mazda 3. It's got a 6-speed automatic with a traditional torque converter, and it also has a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated engine that puts out around 189 horsepower. But why don't we go ahead, let's fire up this XSE Corolla and see how it rolls. All right, guys, we are inside this 2025 Toyota Corolla XSE. I know you're saying to yourself, well, Joe, I want a new car. I don't need anything that's super fast. I just want something that's dependable, looks decent, and has some amenities. How much is this particular Corolla hatchback? This particular one, the way it's optioned, is right at $29,000. Let's see what you get when you go Corolla to the door panels. I do like the two-tone, but I don't like the white. It's just a little too Dalmatian or Stormtrooper. Plus, that white's probably going to get dirty over time, I'm going to assume. You do have some stitching there, nice contrast stitching on the soft armrest, and then they give you a bunch of gloss black, not only on the door handle, but then also around the switchgear, which sounds like a double zonk to me when it comes to fingerprints. Door pocket is decent. You could get 2 chili dogs in there, plus you could get a bottle of Steven's favorite ginger ale to wash it down. Now, going from the door panel to the dash, two-tone continues, like the way they did the white stitching up top. And then you do have the JBL sound system. Slide on in, you're gonna get an 8-inch infotainment system, full touchscreen with the latest multimedia software. You can set up your different guests, all those goodies in there. Very intuitive, very simple, very straightforward. Throw it into reverse. Backup camera does take up all 8 inches, but the resolution's kind of terrible. Let's just call it what it is. But Honda's no better. I think Mazda's gonna be the best out of the 3. And then we're right back where we started. Nice AC vents right there. You got your dual climate control with some nice knob action. Everybody likes to sometimes, twirl around with their knob. And then down below, you do have wireless charging, and you have 2 stages of heated seats. More of that nice soft material with the stitching. This is going to control your CVT. You do have different drive modes. I'll show you that when you come to the business end. 2 cup holders, and then your standard Toyota key fob. Soft touch with the stitching. Open it up, we got junk in there. Ooh. These are the secret coordinates of where this Toyota Corolla was built. That's pretty cool. Wow, it gives you the date when it was built, everything. And it came from Japan. So kind of cool. You do have a USB-C, a 12 volt, and what is this? This is for when you go to Lobster Fest and you're gonna be cracking those claws open and you're gonna be taking your butter and dipping the claw meat in there and making a mess all over you. That's what this is for. I think this is Steven's. Here, Steven, I don't want it. Seats, Softex, with a little bit of grippy cloth, two-tone, manual or electric? Electric adjustments for, no, manual. Manual, that surprises me. Manual adjustments for the passenger, that's a zonk. Thank God over here I have electric. So I'm happy about that. And no sunroof, which is another surprise. But why don't you come over here to the business end? I want to show you behind the wheel of this Corolla. All right, guys, business time behind the wheel. Very simple, straightforward. You have your seat controls, easy to get to for the power seats. Kind of sad there's no power seats for the passenger. I'm 6 feet tall, plenty of room up front. Steering wheel, it's got the nice leather, flat black on the switchgear. It is a manual tilting and telescoping wheel. And you have your pedals for simulated gears, because remember, we have a CVT, not a traditional torque converter automatic. And then you have your 7-inch digital display with your modes. Green is eco, that means you want to hug a tree. Of course, you could go into sport, which is gonna make things red, because red means race. And then normal is blue, you're calm. You're equal in all things in life. And then of course, you could scroll through a cornucopia of information, including turning on and off all of the safety features, which are nice. But we talked about what's up front. Let's get in the back seat though and see if your passengers are gonna be happier in this Corolla compared to the competition. Guys, back seat time. Let's talk about this for a second. So it isn't totally like tight on space. I'm like I said, I'm 6 feet tall, I'm sitting upright. It's just not as spacious as the Civic, but it definitely is better than the Mazda 3. Mazda 3 is very tight in the back seat. You have large pockets. You could put a couple bags of marshmallows and some bars of chocolate and some graham crackers. What does that mean we're gonna make? Yes, s'mores. I can't wait. Back of the center console, you do have 2 USB-Cs. And then, like I said, sitting here, it's actually fairly comfy. I'm not close to the headliner. And then you pull this down. Ooh, this is soft as a marshmallow. And then 2 cup holders. But why don't we go ahead, let's get in that cargo area, because I want to take you for a spin in this Corolla. All right, guys, time to get into the hatchback area now. With the Corolla hatchback, you're really going to want a Corolla, because the cargo area is nothing to write home about. Lift up the liftback, the hatchback section, you're going to be greeted to around 11 cubic feet of space. It is the smallest compared to the Mazda 3 or the Honda Civic. Now, you do have nooks over here where you could put a gallon of milk on each side, and you can fold the seats down 60-40 split. Our particular hatch does have a spare. Now, if you want a little extra room, you could forego the spare, and that will actually lower the cargo floor down and give you more room. So it's all up to what you need, what you want. The king is the Honda Civic hatch. It's got over 20 cubic feet of space. There's some SUVs that don't even have 20 cubic feet of space. But why don't we go ahead, let's get behind the wheel and go for a little sporty drive in this sporty version of the Corolla hatch. All right, guys, we are behind the wheel of this Toyota Corolla XSE hatchback. And I went ahead and put it in the sport mode. Remember, it is front wheel drive with that CVT. And right away, I think from a comfort standpoint, this Corolla hatchback does it better than the competition. Next would be the Mazda 3, and I think the Civic has the least amount of comfort, although it's still a lot of comfort just compared to this. The seats are not as comfortable. The seats in a Civic, I feel like you sit in a bucket. It's kind of weird. There's really no support for your backside. But with this Corolla, it's well built. The engine is bulletproof, and even though it has a CVT, remember, it's sort of like a hybrid CVT, because it's got actual gear for firsts, and then the rest of it is the CVT part, which are belts. Now going down the road, very smooth, very responsive. They did increase the sporty tune on the suspension. And visibility is fantastic. Even out the tighter back window, still very fantastic in here. And you got your full suite of Toyota Sensing 3.0++ technology. Getting to that 8-inch infotainment system is great. I'm gonna go ahead and take the shifter and pull it over to my leg, and that's gonna allow me to shift manually with the paddles. And we're gonna see how this goes in a split second. Are you ready? On throttle, here we go. So you do have the simulated gears, which are great, using the paddles. It's just not the quickest, but you know, I think somebody who's getting this type of vehicle, if you wanted quick, you would go GR Corolla. I mean, that's 300 horsepower. But the paddles actually work really well. With the simulated gears. It actually feels like gears in a conventional automatic transmission. So right now we're in third, second, on throttle, here we go. Very linear torque delivery. So very, very responsive with the simulated gears. I'm actually quite impressed with how that goes. And then of course the CVT overall is gonna get you better fuel economy. Now when you are in your different modes, whether it's normal, sport, eco, that's gonna adjust how sensitive the steering feel is and throttle sensitivity. But it's nice that there's no pumped in sound or any of that nonsense. And it's just, there's not a lot of wind noise, not a lot of road noise. They do a great job with the build quality in these things. But the seats are fantastic. They are superb. Easy to see the 7-inch display. And then you got some decent areas for some storage. Not the greatest, but also not the worst either. You can even slide out the armrest. Look at that. If you want to bring your arm out a little bit more. It's the little things like that. And then when it comes to the steering, like I said, it just has a nice feel to it. And overall, the balance of the car is great. You ready? On throttle, here we go. Simulated shifts. Like I said, if you're looking for a faster car, they're out there. But it's gonna cost you, right? I mean, GR Corolla starts at $39,000. This has the MSRP of $29,000, the way you see it. But really nice and smooth, comfortable, a car that you could drive day in and day out, and doesn't matter how many miles you need to drive, you're gonna feel good at the end of every trip. But I'm hoping that this has been a good overall review of what this Corolla Hatchback XSE is bringing. We're gonna get back to where it all started and wrap this one up. So I'll see you in a split second. All right, guys, another great day in so many ways here at Clearwater Toyota. Definitely got to thank Steven and the rest of the team getting us access to this ice cap painted 2025 Corolla Hatchback. Now it's your turn to let me know what you think. Are you going Corolla Hatchback XSE? Is it the best for the money compared to the Civic or the Mazda 3? Let me know in the comment section. But if you're new to the channel, you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile. I'll come back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Raised Rights family. Got to give it up to Stephen Flood. I know which one he would go with. It would be the Honda Civic. He's a Honda guy. Thank you, Stephen, for all that you do. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.